Okay, and welcome to the very first episode of If It Isn't Love. I'm your host, Donisha, and this is my lovely, wonderful, and ain't he so cute co-host,
J.L. Woodson.
And so we're really excited about this inaugural episode. We did our trailer, and so we figured that before we really got into all the different topics that we have planned for the podcast, that our first episode should just be about us and how we came to be, and give you guys a little bit of a background on that. So you want me to start, or do you want to start?
You can start.
Okay. So we knew each other from college. He is older than me. So apparently I'm into older men, in case anybody was wondering.
I'm not older by that much.
No, you're only like 8 months older than me.
Yeah.
But he was a sophomore at Fisk University, and I was a freshman. We're actually both from Chicago, but we did not know each other before we went to Fisk, before college. Although, it's interesting because I know a lot of people who still knew one another, but, it's a whole other topic. It's a South Side, West Side thing. I'm from the West Side of Chicago. He's from the South Side. So often, especially back then, it was a definite rivalry. It was just like, oh, we don't go on the West Side, we don't go on the South Side. So we didn't know each other before college. And we knew each other in college. Like, we were acquaintances, we were friends, we were both in the Chicago club. But I don't think we never really hung out or anything like that.
Not really. No, I've always seen you in passing.
Yeah.
Whether I was sitting on the yard or you were on your way to class, and or I was on my way to class and you were just chilling and everything like that, or of course there was always the calf.
Yeah.
But other than that,
yeah, we may have, and it's like we knew each other, we were. I think that at the time, one of your closest friends, Darius, he and I knew each other because we didn't know each other before college either, but we were very active in the Chicagoland Club. I think my freshman year, I was Miss Chicago. He wasn't Mr. Chicago. I think it might have been Willis. I'm not sure. But he was very active. So from there, I always, he would engage me. And so y'all were together a lot. So I would see you. And so we were in circles like that. But I don't think you and I ever had any one-on-one conversations. And so then you fast forward to, I don't know, last year. Because
we've seen each other in between time.
No.
Yeah.
In Chicago? Never.
I've seen you.
Okay,
I've seen you.
Yeah, okay. That's a whole other thing. We didn't hang out. I don't think we ever went to any of the same events or did things together in Chicago. All the years that we lived there at the same time.
Not together.
Right, because there are quite a few years we lived there at the same time. And
that's the thing. I didn't know you moved back until, what was that? The Trap Karaoke.
Yeah, but it's not even moved back. I moved back after college. I never stayed in Nashville.
I didn't know that.
That's what I'm saying.
I thought you were in Nashville that whole time.
No, I never. After college, after I graduated in 2009, I stayed till June. So I stayed literally 4 weeks after graduation because I was trying to live in Nashville. But it was during the recession. So I really couldn't find a job. And so I used the last money I had to rent a car one way and drive back to Chicago. And then I was only supposed to stay in Chicago. I was like, I'm going to stay here for a few months, get some money, find an odd job, whatever the case is. And I ended up staying there for 8 years. I ended up just staying at home and living in Chicago for a while. Of course, clearly into 2017 when I moved to Houston.
The recession was where it was real.
Yeah.
Because both of us moved back, but we didn't know that. I moved back in 2009.
Yeah. So the funny thing about that is I did feel bad before. I never realized that you did. I mean, until now I know. But I didn't realize that you had not graduate, like you didn't stay at Fisk. Because I saw you. I'm like, I know I see you. So the whole time I thought you were like there.
Nah, like after
you was just chilling, like local Chris.
Oh shit. So I was always like coming up to hang out, but I was working at Baptist Hospital. But you know, I still stayed connected with people that were there at Fisk, and I would just always come to hang out and everything like that. That was basically it. Yeah. Like after I knew I didn't want to do any teaching anymore. Like I'm like, okay, I need to find a different path, and so I found my different path.
Right. So I get that, but I didn't know that until we started dating. Like I just thought you graduated 08.
Somebody got to do their research.
Oh, you want to talk about research? Okay. So have you guys ever heard of the Netflix show You?
Shut your... No. I am not that bad.
That's you're like the less intense version of... I'm just kidding.
I am not that bad. I am not like waiting around the street corner like, hey, I see you.
I'm just messing with you. It's not that bad. But okay, is it fair to say that in terms of attraction, like you have been attracted to me for a longer period of time?
My attraction goes as far back as that olive green jumpsuit you were wearing.
Oh my God. It's the cutest thing. It's really is sweet. I love it so much because I remember when you told me that, it really like touched my heart because, okay, so we went to Fisk University. Across the street from the school was a Rainbow clothing store. Don't hate on Rainbow. Some of the same stuff y'all buy from Fashion Nova and Boohoo, they sell at Rainbow for 50%. But there's also some absurdly tacky things at Rainbow. And I'm going to say that this jumpsuit was somewhere in between. But when I saw it, y'all, mind you, I'm 18 years old. I new to college. It is 2005. So I just had to have this jumpsuit or this outfit. It was a 2-piece outfit and it was a jacket and pants, and the pants was like the scrunchy material or whatever, and it was a crop jacket actually, so you kind of had to wear something under it because I've always been a thick girl, and it was shiny.
Yeah. It's like silk or something. It was satin.
It was satin. I think it was satin. And it was olive green. But I mean, I felt invincible in this jumpsuit.
No, you weren't invisible. I was like,
okay. Not invisible, invincible.
Oh, okay.
I felt so cute in this. And then I would like slick my hair back, and that's when the humps were in style. So I would like...
a little shark fin.
Yes, situation. I would spritz a hump in and have my ponytail coming back. And it was like the drawstring ponytail. So it was, yes, drawstring ponytails. It's so simple. You just put your hair in a bun, put the drawstring on, zip it tight, and you gone. Didn't take all that wrapping the hair around. It was great. I mean, I felt I was so cute. So and it was so funny because my friend Tashay used to always make fun because like afterwards, like, right, like in our adult life, she used to always be like, Don, I remember when you had that green jumpsuit, you just loved it so much. I mean, I was setting it out in that. So when you mentioned it, it was so cute because I'm just like, who remembered? Like, who thinks of that?
I mean, I pay attention, like, not like Joe.
Okay.
Anyway, but no, like, I think like the first time I ever like really, like, because of course, like, beginning of the school year and everything like that, you're just trying to get classes and do all that other different stuff. And then I was sitting on the yard by the Tree of Knowledge, and I forgot who I was sitting next to, but It was like one of the guys. But basically, I saw you coming up and you were going towards the calf in the olive green jumpsuit. I was like, okay. I'm probably gonna talk to her, but I probably won't have the courage to.
And you didn't have the courage because you never said a single word to me about in terms of being interested.
True, but also at the same time, like it was really big on timing because like one thing I knew that basically from what I've been told, especially back then, was that like you don't play. So
what do you mean I don't play?
Like you really take your stuff seriously, like as far as like how you present yourself, how you interact with other people and everything like that, and you just don't take no mess. So
you think that's changed?
Nah. Not at all.
Good. I just wanted to make sure.
Basically, so at that time I was dating somebody and everything like that, and it wasn't.
You was also thotting.
I really was.
See, so I'm glad you left me the hell alone.
I'm glad. Like parts of me I'm glad that I waited or that we are now together, because back then if I would have tried, we would have hated each other by now, especially with the mindset I had back then. So I'm grateful that we're together now. But yeah, back then I'm like, okay. Like I was very attracted to you. But one thing that I didn't think about was like how that would affect like us in the long run or anything like that. Like I wasn't thinking about future or anything like that. I was just thinking about the right then and there. And so I'm glad I made that conscious decision to not go forward.
Okay, look at you making good decisions early in your life.
All right.
So, okay, we went back for a second, but we're fast forwarding to we're both in Chicago. And so what I was saying when you were saying like you were attracted to it is this one picture, which I'm sure you've posted before. Mm-hmm. And it's a picture that at the time I thought was just really, oh, that's funny. Mm-hmm. Because we were at Trap Karaoke. We happened to both be there in Chicago, and it was at House of Blues. And I was in the bottom with Drea, Kelly Cryer, and there was somebody else. I forgot. Like we went to Trap Karaoke, and you were in the balcony.
Yeah.
Right. And so you took a picture, and it was like me laughing. Mm-hmm. And I think you recorded the video because Drea and I performed
Anaconda
that night, which we've done before. We've done it like 2 or 3 times at Trap Karaoke. We've done it in Houston too. Like that's our song. Mm-hmm. And so you sent me a picture on Facebook Messenger, and you're just like, "Hey, small world. Hope all is well." Just like very innocent, which I thought was so cute. Not knowing you were just like, "Soon, my pretty."
Anyway, I am not okay. Okay.
Right.
So it wasn't okay. I don't know how to.
He's trying to make himself seem less creepy.
I'm not.
It's okay. You got me now, so hell, it worked.
Anyway. But not like, so when I was taking the picture and everything like that, I'm like, bad part is in the back of my mind, I'm like, she looks really happy.
I really was. We were
really,
having
really
a
happy.
What year was this? 2016?
17.
Oh, 2017? That was my live your best life years. 2017, I was happy.
But it's like more so than anything, like I was mainly attracted to the like how you laugh and how you smile and everything like that. So like even when we were at Fisk, it's like, see? It's like you have a very, very infectious smile and a very, very infectious laugh. Like now it's like, girl, gone somewhere.
See, right, because it's so funny because now when I be laughing, you be like, you laugh so hard. Look, the thing that you were so attracted to now, you're like, you just gonna laugh like that? And you just can't win.
Anyway, but I just think like I captured that picture because like I'm like, yo, this is a very nice picture, especially with you laughing. Bad part is it took a long time for that photo to go through because I took it early.
Okay.
But like with everybody being on the network and everything like that.
So I didn't even see it till I got home.
Yeah, it took a long time for that picture to go through. I'm like, okay, she might not ever see it. Who knows?
Yeah, I didn't even see it. I saw it when I got home. Or it might have been like the next morning. And I was just like, oh, that's so nice. Whatever. So from there, I moved to Houston later that year. So I moved to Houston in November of 2017. You were still living in Chicago. And then clearly we're living totally separate lives in relationships with different people, all of that. And then let's just fast forward to how we connected. I want to say it was like February of last year. Maybe sometime around there. Like, I know it was after Valentine's Day because I know the fool I was dealing with Valentine's Day 2019. So we fast forward, but I think I want to say no. Yes, it was end of February, beginning of March, because I remember March was when Endgame, Avengers Endgame came out. You were in Dubai, but I remember. So you all okay? I think that you think. I remember just seeing like things that you were posting on Facebook, and I was thinking like, well, he is such a nice guy. Like, I wonder. I just started thinking like, and I didn't realize until I look back at my Facebook memories now that I didn't realize how much we had engaged on like Facebook, just on posts and silly stuff like that. And I was thinking like, oh, he seems like a nice guy, but it was also like he lives in Chicago. And I literally was over long distance relationships at that point because I was just like, why can't I find someone that I like in the city that I live in when I live there?
See, we have two totally different mindsets when it comes to that. So, like, it's not like I live all the way in a different country. And so that's basically the way I think. Like, some of my relationships have been long distance. So it's like one of those things where are you willing to travel to get there, or are you willing to do the work to make that long distance relationship work? And so I don't think distance as far as like how far apart we were was a big problem for me.
I don't think it's bad. I just didn't want it. My last serious relationship before yours was long distance. And for me, that person was having a hard time dealing with the distance, even though we were seeing one another every few weeks or every month or whatever. And I understand how difficult it can be when you're trying to build a relationship, especially in the beginning. It wasn't like we were together and then we clearly went through it, but I get how it was difficult, but I didn't want that. I moved part of the reason I moved to Houston is like I wanted a new scene in terms of dating. So I just was like frustrated that everybody that I was somehow piqued my interest did not live where I lived. And I went on dates when I was here. I dated a few guys while from Houston that lived here. And I wanted that experience. I wanted to be able to be like, hey, you want to go out to eat tomorrow? Like, yes, I wanted that. I didn't want to be like, we got to plan 2 weeks in advance or 3 weeks or a month in advance. And then everything has to be a thing. Like, I want to be like, I go to work and we can go grab a pizza. You can come watch TV. Like, I wanted that because I had never really experienced that. But I had a number of long distance, like situations because people, it would just be so funny. People would like live in Nashville or wherever or move, whatever the case was. So I think what ended up happening was there was some equipment that I pretended I needed to know about.
Podcast equipment.
Oh, podcast equipment. That's it.
Microphones and stuff.
Because Dre and I were we were talking about starting Woken Ratchet. And that's funny. And we had we were looking for mics and stuff. I didn't pretend. Like, I did actually want to know what you thought was the best, but I did use it as like kind of my end. So
shoot, my end.
It's so funny. No, your ear what?
Go ahead.
Were you about to be inappropriate? No.
No.
Okay. I it's not that we didn't need to know, but I wanted to figure out how do we move this conversation off of regular posts without it being, but like that's what I think, that's oftentimes in our very heteronormative world, when you're talking about men and women relationships, that's kind of like what the woman, like, I mean, I'm all about just be like, hey, you, I like you, what, let's do this. But also there's a lot of, I just want you to know that it is okay. But I just wanted to strike up conversation to kind of see where you are. And you definitely took it and ran with it, because I think yours like, oh yeah, here's some stuff I looked up for you. Da 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 da.
I mean, you asked me about something that was like that piques my interest as well. Like, so it's like, oh, she needs my help. Okay.
I know. I know what I knew what I was doing.
Oh my God.
I know.
You trickster. You.
I knew you liked me though.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, the way, and look, I don't want to confuse to say like if somebody hearts your status, that means they're in love with you or any crazy thing like that. But I could tell by the way that you were engaging with me that you were interested. So I just wanted to see if the opportunity presented itself, if you would follow through, and you did. And also, it was like really really helpful, and yeah.
Because I didn't know where I was going to, like, because I'm not necessarily that type of guy who will actually, like, that whole dating scene in the bars and everything like that. Me, I'm not walking up to the woman asking if she wants a drink, only because I'm like, that's just, like, in my head, there's, like, so many things that could go wrong. I'm clumsy as hell, and I really fumble my words a lot. So it's like, especially when approaching a woman, like, I get nervous. So it's not like I don't want to. It's one of those things where I'm like, yo, I don't want to be the boring dude or the nerd that comes up to her or anything like that. And then next thing you know, it's like she goes back to her girlfriends later and it's like, yo, you see what this nerd tried to do to me?
I mean, but do you know how many like cool guys come up and get rejected every day?
True.
It's a game of statistics. It's just you ain't gonna hit them all. You ain't gonna hit them all. Just one. You don't really need one. But if you go out for 7, you're probably going to get one girl that is interested. But I mean,
that's tiring.
Yeah. Those days are behind you anyway. Yeah. We're not even worried about that. But I think that evolved into, you were telling me you were getting ready to go on a trip.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, Drea was living here. And I think for a minute I was like Airbnb in my apartment for like extra income. So that weekend there was a weekend in March. I don't want to say it's like towards the end of March or middle of March or whatever. And
don't ask me about dates.
I know, you're bad.
I can write stuff down.
I was spending the weekend at Drea's house. Mm-hmm. And so we went to go see Avengers Endgame. And that was the same weekend, a week you were in Dubai. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's when and we were still messaging one another on Facebook Messenger. And the time, it was like an 8-hour time difference or something like that. Something like that. But I remember we were like messaging each other because then you're like, what are you doing today? And I was like, oh, we're going to go see Endgame. And you're like, yeah, we want to go see it while we're here. But we're like waiting for people or whatever the case is. And so you're kind of like recapping me on your trip. What I remember the most about that was so I went back to, my house after the weekend was over, and I was at work either that Monday or that Tuesday. And at some point we had exchanged numbers, or like I gave my number, like, hey, you can call me sometime, like, so that, because Facebook Messenger, whatever. I also just wanted you to have my phone number. And you text me a few times, but one day you FaceTime me, and it was like, what? But I was at work, so I was already looking presentable, and it was nighttime in Dubai, and you went to some kind of like drum circle thing, and you're like, I just really wanted you to see this and experience this. And I was like, and what it really made me think, I mean, at that point it had been like a week or so or whatever that we had been in constant communication, and I was like, this man is however many hours away and still made time to like make sure he FaceTime me across the entire ocean. He's literally across the world. And it's men who are down the street who are like, I was so busy, girl, I couldn't text you. And so for me, it was just like, okay, 2 points.
Oh my God.
2 points.
Just 2?
Yes.
Okay.
2 points because you do a great job. I don't want you to think you don't, but the bar is in hell for Black straight men in America.
Wait, what now?
The bar is low.
Oh, okay.
That's what I meant. The bar is in hell. So sometimes I don't want to take away from the value that you add to my life and how I think that you are very much so the exception to what I see and that you're a good person. But I also am not about to get like super overly excited about things that are, in my opinion, basics. Like, you should call when you are interested. You should text me. You should communicate. I'm not going, even though I get why people do, because so many people don't, so many men don't, I ain't gonna get all like, it was nice, but the fact that you did it when you were in another country, when that was probably the one time I would have been like, oh, okay, he's in Dubai. So I get it. Roaming. We not even together. Like,
man, that bill was high.
I know it had to be. Like, because we were on the phone for like 20 minutes.
Well, it wasn't just that. Like, okay. I didn't know I needed a separate package.
Oh, you were just out here.
I was
free balling with your minutes.
No, so when like I kept getting text messages about my plan, and I'm like, I already have an international plan. What is this? What is going on? I didn't know you need a separate plan for Dubai. I'm like,
a lot of places.
Oh,
the usually international plan, like on most networks, only include like Canada and Mexico. That's what they mean by international. Or like you can go to the Bahamas, somebody somewhere in the Caribbean. You want to go to Africa and think, sir, you are in Africa. You done left the continent and everything.
Right. I didn't know that. So like, but it was. I'm like, at this point, I'm like, it was worth it. Shut your face.
So I think that from that point we were in communication like every day from that point. And I want to say it took like 2 weeks before then I feel like I kind of like left the ball in your court to see where things are going to progress when you got back to the States. It was just kind of like, I remember when you were just like, you know what, I like you. And, you know, I am interested in dating you. And I was just like, okay, like, let's see where this goes. And we talked. And then I remember the day we, I had a conversation about like, all right, if we're going to do this, we need to lay all our cards on the table. And like, are we dating? Are you talking to anybody else? And what prompted this was because I had the one other person I was kind of talking to who was also in Chicago at the time. I was like, this ain't going nowhere. I like this guy. I'm going to leave this one alone. He also had asked me for money and it just totally turned me off. So it was kind of easy to be like, damn. All right, nigga, back. And so when I presented it to you, like, all right, what you got going on? Then this one was like, actually, I got about 4 in the pocket. Let me hold, please. You did. You said I'm gonna call you back. You hung up, and you started like, I guess, making all your sorry to inform you calls. Yeah, because you was out here like, yeah, I like you, girl, but also over here, I got Shirlene waiting in the background.
Shirlene,
just making sure.
You over here saying I'm dating somebody, grandma or auntie?
Well, Shirlene's were kids at some point. You know, at some point, Shirlene was a kid. Just like, so, and I did just remember actually how you initiated the conversation in my Facebook Messenger. You were coming to Houston for the tattoo convention in June, and you sent me a message saying like, "Hey, I'm gonna be here. Like, if you're interested, if you want a tattoo, or like I do photography and videography for NIMAG and whatever." And you were like, "Yeah, you should come through. It'd be cool to hang out." And I was like, "Sure." But then we went on to all the other stuff, and so by the time you actually got here in June, we were in a relationship.
Yeah.
So and everything moved kind of fast.
Very.
It moved very fast. We went from like talking to like the next. I feel like it was like in May. I remember because we were on the phone one day for like 9 hours. Like you called me at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I was just like sitting on the phone on the couch talking to you all day. When I looked up, I only hung up because I needed to shower. It was a Sunday. I needed to shower, and Game of Thrones was about to air, and I was like,
just gonna get off the phone.
I care about you,
Game of Thrones.
but you know, it's whatever. I was like, and that was the day that you told me that you love me, and that is the day. That's why, and it was actually May 19th, which is why that's our anniversary.
Yeah.
Did you know that? You knew that, right?
I wrote it down. Yes, I knew
because
that.
We had started dating before, but we decided to pick a day that we thought would be our anniversary, and so that's why we picked May 19th, because somebody is very like, I want everything to be on separate dates, and nothing can be on the same day as another birthday, or it can't be this.
It just seems cliche-ish to like,
but it could be so much easier. It could be like, well, these things go under this date, especially for somebody who don't remember. Just like,
you just want to talk about memory like that?
No, I'm just saying, like, you know, help me help you. Thank you, Miss Menchaca, my 6th grade teacher, who just always like, help me help you.
Anyway.
So yeah, so we did a long distance thing for a minute. And a lot of time it was like, you know, you came here to Houston, and then I came home to Chicago, and then we went to New Orleans twice.
Yep.
I think you came back to Houston, and then I don't think we went anywhere else except, I mean, before my birthday trip. I don't think we went anywhere else.
Memphis.
Oh yeah. Yes. No, Memphis was the end. Louisville.
That was that. Yeah,
we went to Louisville because I had a conference for work, so you came. So we tried to make the long distance thing work. I think we never went more than like 7 weeks without seeing each other. That's probably like only one time. Other than that, we're seeing each other probably every month. Once we started dating for like a week at a time, or at least 4 days. It wasn't always a full week.
Yeah,
but it'd be a few days, longer than a weekend, and then. You know, I was really just like, I can't do this long distance thing for a long time. I was really over it. And at a point in my life where I'm like, if you love me and you want to be with me, like, we got to figure something out. And like I said, my last long-term relationship, my last long distance relationship, should I say, I had just moved to Houston, but we had already made a plan for me to move to where he was. And I decided that I was not uprooting myself again for a relationship. I decided, like, I'm not doing it. And I get it, because it sounds like very like, well, damn, girl, what if the love of your life lives somewhere else? And you're like, he had to come here. I'm not saying I'm living in Houston forever, but at that point in my life, it was very like, I can't stop my flow and my focus for somebody else. And if they want to be with me, they'll come here. Here we are. Recording from Houston. I'm just saying. So I communicated that with you. And I think then we developed a plan for like when you would come. And so I think we originally, had said it would be like early this year. But then it just lined up that with some of the different, I think, career changes that you made, it was just like, okay, well, we went on this trip. We went on a cruise for my birthday. Back when we could cruise before the Rona. Yeah. We went on a cruise.
Good times.
And
good old days.
Afterwards, like, I had a conference, and then I had a few days off so that you can get your stuff together. And then I flew back to Chicago for Christmas, and it was just one way. Then we rented a car, got all your stuff, packed it up, and drove it to
long ass drive.
It really was a long drive. And it's funny because I always said I would never do that drive again. I did it for you.
Oh, that's love.
That's it. I'm tired of driving 22 hours. Although this one was much better than when I drove here, because I had the trailer hooked to my Kia by myself when I moved to Houston, and that was difficult. So We're here, and you've been here for 10 months now, something like that. Yeah, it's almost October. Well, no, about 10 months. 27th, 29th, you moved.
Right.
10 months. How is it? Is
I
it a
love
good?
it.
Do you feel like you made a good decision?
I definitely do. Because honestly, like, of course, I moved here for you. I also feel like Houston, for me in the long run, was a better move.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly because, like, you know, like, you can only be at home for so long.
Yeah.
And I had no issue with moving. Because my plan in the long run was to always move. I just didn't know where to move to, or never knew how it was going to happen. So when you said that you weren't moving back to Chicago, because honestly, I was like, okay, you know, she's familiar with Chicago. She's probably going to want to move back here.
And that's what everybody thought. I think everybody was like, oh, she fell in love with Chicago. My mom did. I was like, nope. He'll come here or we will not be together. It was that.
Yeah. I mean, I was like kind of shocked at first. And then I was like, okay, I don't see, like, it's new territory for me. But at the same time, I've moved to Nashville before. I moved to South Carolina. And I think for the most part, I didn't really want us to be in a long distance relationship either. So I was like, okay, let's go ahead and get with this plan to make this happen. Because I'm like, she's not moving.
I'm not. I feel like I can never emphasize enough. Mm-hmm. But after living with me for 10 months, you know, I hate being cold. I absolutely despise the cold. I tell you, 80% of the reason that I moved to Houston was because I don't like being cold.
I do appreciate the fact that I can grill in the winter.
Yes.
I do appreciate the fact that I can wear shorts in the winter here.
Yeah. It gets,
but we are like totally the opposite. Because I like heat, but I like 70-degree heat.
And he gets so grumpy when it's too hot.
First of all, we ain't gonna talk about that.
We're not gonna talk about you getting mad grumpy? Okay.
It's hot.
Like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Like, you're Dr. Jekyll most of the time, this calm, mild-mannered person.
It's hot.
And so you're like, it's hot. That's how you get. And you're like, I just be like, all right, you be hot over there. I don't want to be near you.
But you do, okay.
And then you
so
cool
when
down,
she
and
gets
then your
cold,
temperament cools
when she
down.
gets cold,
don't tell people about
she
me.
puts her feet on me to warm them up.
Yeah.
Like,
actually, I don't put my feet on you to warm them up. I put my feet on you to cool you down. See, it's perspective. It is perspective. I'm just trying, because I always just want to prove to you how cold I am. I think that you always like, when I tell people I am cold, but now I know you believe me. Mm-hmm. But I feel like people always be like, how are you cold? Like, if I'm in here and I don't have the air, like when I live alone, mm-hmm. I very rarely ran my air. The air is always on down.
There's only so much clothing I could take off.
Ceiling fan and be fine. So people like, then they come and turn the air on. And people are like, how are you not? And then I touch them and they're like, why? And that's what your famous line. Why are you so cold? So I tell you, like, I'm not making this up. I just get cold so easily.
You have doctor's hands.
I'm borderline anemic in real life. So I get cold so quickly. I couldn't imagine like living back in Chicago. Like, because that is an ungodly cold that clearly I dealt with for years and years and years and years, because I was born and raised
in the middle of winter.
Yeah, I was born in the December
beginning of the winter.
The fall. Actually, I was born in the fall. Winter does not start until December 21st. So I'm technically born in the fall, but the very tail end of the fall. And if you live in Chicago, December is winter. So whatever.
The more you know.
The more you know. So moving back home wasn't a thing for me. I also moved away from Chicago because I just felt like, in terms of career opportunities, it didn't have a lot that I was looking for. The cost of living in Chicago was ridiculous for the kind of life that I wanted, you know. Yeah, when I first moved here, I was making less money, but things were not as expensive. The only thing that cost $1 million was to get my nails done. And I found a good nail tech who's my friend in real life. So.
And car washes.
That's the one thing. You cannot get like a $12, $15 car wash here.
Like, there's nobody even on the interstate that's out there with spray bottles and stuff.
And now that we have a SUV, it's like, okay, I need to get the car wash, but this costs $40. Cheapest thing you're gonna find if you want to, especially when I'm around $40. So whereas when I was at home, I used to get Gracie washed every Saturday, faithfully. Storm gets washed once every other month. I think I'm getting paid this week, so I need to wash the car. She needs to be washed. So
see me like,
and it's because the inside needs to be cleaned. That's why I be wanting to wash the car. I don't care about the outside. It rains all the time. So.
But see me, I live more ruggedly, so it's like most of the time when like I was driving in Chicago, like we didn't have all these dust and sand problems and stuff like that. So, or if it was like, I remember one time I went mudding. And I didn't wash that car for like a good week.
Well, we ain't going mudding in store. Yeah, she ain't for that. But I like my car relatively neat. I'm not like crazy clean about the car. I'm definitely more strict about the house more so than the car. That we ain't even talking about none of that. This episode's gone somewhere.
What?
I already know. But yeah, so I'm happy you moved here. We wouldn't have this podcast if you had not moved here.
True. And
you're still around. So this is my longest relationship. So
why wouldn't I be?
I don't know. Crazy.
Apparently I'm like Joe.
That says more about me than you.
What do you mean?
That says I'm into crazy.
Oh.
Yes. So yeah, and it's been really interesting, and I'm really excited about all the different things that we're going to be able to share, not only in life but on the podcast. And you know, this was different for me because, like I said, it is the longest relationship I've ever been in, even though we've been together for like a year and a half. Usually, like,
and this is your first living, right?
Yes. So it was a lot happening at once. So yes, the first time I've lived with someone outside of roommate. My mother. Yes, it's the first time I've lived with a man's. Something it's so funny. Like I was talking about it with Dre, and we talked about how, you know, there was a point in my life. Oh my God, living with someone before I'm married. Gasp! I never. And now look at me shacking up. The mighty have fallen.
Oh my God. Anyway.
No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so I mean, I look forward to it. It's scary. I'm not gonna lie. It's scary. You don't think it's scary? To like live your life with a person?
No.
So you're a serial monogamist. That's a whole other conversation though.
But why would it be scary?
Because I spend a lot of time being single.
Okay.
And getting to know myself and doing things singly. Singlish. And when you fuse your life with another person, it's very different.
But I think that's what makes a lot of that stuff, like trying to figure that stuff out, great. But I mean, especially if your personalities don't mesh and everything like that.
What?
Man, you and these dishes, man. In my dishwasher. Different time. I love a dishwasher. She loves washing dishes by hand.
Because I didn't grow up with one. And let me tell you, dishwashers don't get your dishes as clean. Now, sometimes we have, like right now, a sink full of dishes, but the dishwasher is also full, which is why I know you didn't load it. But that's a whole other topic.
We went to bed like...
We did. We were watching movies. I'm just messing with you.
But, go ahead.
No, because I hate when we take stuff out of the dishwasher and I feel like I still need to wash it. If I had just washed it to begin with.
But...
Then I just be like I hate when I pull something out of the cabinet that we washed in the dishwasher and it's still dirty in the inside because we didn't like look. I I just be like, "Ugh, I should just watch this." Because now I have to watch this. And I could have just watched it from the beginning. Now you're going to make me go down the dishwashing rabbit hole, and I don't want to go there. Okay. We're different.
So
personalities.
But I think that's when like figuring that stuff out is great. Yeah. Because like I do like learning about you. I do like figuring out what your likes and your dislikes and everything like that. Are we going to agree on them all the time? I don't know. But
you do know the answer is no, we're not.
But I think that's what makes relationships great. Now, as far as moving in with someone or living together, I think sometimes that's needed. Especially, like, I don't necessarily date just to be dating. Like, at one point in time, yeah, I did. But I don't date. I date for long term. Mm-hmm. So it's not like I'm just over here, like, planning my exit or anything like that.
You only got one way out, homie.
Oh, I gotta die.
I say you did.
Anyway, as many times y'all been killed off people in y'all minds and stuff like that.
Huh?
You know, like when you say you break up with people and everything like that and they die.
Oh, yeah. But I've invested a lot. You're going to have to go in the physical.
Oh my God.
I love you.
Y'all heard it here first. Anyway, but yeah, I think the fact that we get a chance to experience each other, especially if we're planning on being together for a very long time.
Since.
Huh?
Not if. Since we're planning.
Since we're planning on being together for a very long time. Excuse me. I just think it makes more sense to like understand who we are as a couple, yeah, and how we live together. Yeah. That's kind of just the way I view it.
Yeah. I think prior to, I would have thought to like live with somebody as something that you should do. Mm-hmm. Because especially, I mean, and not to get too deep into it, just you grow up like in terms of like what you hear in Christianity, but also like in just churchiness and Black faux morality. Mm-hmm. Like, why would he buy the cow if you give the milk away for free? All that kind of stuff that as a young woman you would hear growing up, mm-hmm, that would discourage moving in together. And I know a lot of people who live with their spouses and their significant others after they, got married. I couldn't imagine. Part of having roommates helped me feel more comfortable with doing this, because I've had people who I have lived with who I got along with great. Mm-hmm. And when we lived together, I was like, oh, I don't like this person. Because it is very different, mm-hmm, when you are friends with someone and you have your own spaces and you curate and you set up how you live together, mm-hmm, versus like when you're like putting your living styles together and you have to share spaces and all that. So that's part of why I was nervous, because it was like, not only are we sharing space, but we're sharing like intimate space, like because we're in the same bedroom and all that kind of stuff. So that was huge for me. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like I said, like I've had roommate experiences that really made me look at the person differently. And I've had some great ones too, but I've had some that was like, that's why I used to always joke about how like we would never live together because it'd be the demise of our friendship. Mm-hmm. Because as close as we are, like she is my sister. We've been best friends, friends since we were like 5 years old. We are very different in, mm-hmm, terms of how we live. And so we're good at meshing our lives together in these spaces. And clearly I'm welcome in her house like it's my own. She's welcome in mine like it's her own. But we can actually own like a space. It'd have to be the biggest space. It'd have to be a mansion. Like some it just doesn't work like that. So I think the things that we've learned about one another, like, and clearly we've had a lot of different, mm-hmm, events happen that have impacted that more so, including a pandemic, which has very much so affected living together. Mm-hmm. I think it helps you really know like that person, because it's just like, could you live with someone if they do this? Or do you do this together, or what are your ideas on this, and how you run a household and how you live. It really shows, because when we go on dates and stuff, we were just tripping it up and going on these trips. Everything was a vacation. We were in some, even when you came here, it was, it was like I was taking days off and we were like, it was still always vacation. So when you're actually like just in the day to day, you can see a person in their own element, and when they're not on, when they're just being themselves. My recommendation definitely would be to live with someone before you commit, whether or not you're doing it, right? True. Even if you live in like a roommate fashion, I think that you should live with someone to see. Because if you're gonna have sex, you're gonna have sex. So people are like, well, if you were tempted, if y'all gonna do it,
right? Whether
you live together or not. So even if you want to say like live in a roommate fashion, so you can just see how a person lives and how they do things. I think that I recommend it.
I do for certain people. Like, if you don't have the mindset to, I wouldn't say force it. But also, like, the reason why, like, a lot of times, like, even just moving here, like, even before, like, I wanted you to actually see, like, what it is like being with me and everything like that when I'm not always on. Like, shoot, sometimes it's like, like trying to make sure like you are, how like you don't present everything in the beginning or anything like that. Like, I presented from day one. I don't like washing dishes.
Oh, so we're going back to dishes.
But no, like, I just think the fact that we want to be together, like as a collective, and then like as a relationship and then as a couple, I think that collective effort makes us go a little bit further, or it helps us to understand, like, okay, this is how this is actually working for us. Like, we understand our rhythm. Sometimes that rhythm does change, but we still change with it.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's why I said I would recommend it for people if you plan on at some point living together.
Yeah.
If you don't, now I think some couples don't live together and they're like, some people are like, this is my house, this is my husband's house. I know people who live like, my husband has his own house, I have my house, and we visit one another. We might live on the same block or stuff like that. If you got like Will and Jada, y'all got different wings of the house and stuff like that. Are you contemplating this? Baby, if you can buy me my own house and then buy you your own house, I will gladly accept. I love you, and I'm totally willing to build one home with you together. However, should you and your wallet see fit to purchase me my own separate house, and you your own, the kids will stay with you, just in case you were wondering. Maybe they'll have a room and be like, oh, what's that? Married to Medicine, where Simone, she ended up moving back, but she had her own house because it was like closer to the hospital that she worked at, and her kids and husband had the bigger house, but it was like out somewhere, and she like she had like a condo in Atlanta, like in the city, which clearly her husband can come to anytime. He had keys, he had access, all of that, but she stayed there most of the time during the week when she was working because it was close to the hospital, because it was like a 2-hour drive to their house, or like an hour and a half, something like for an emergency room physician that didn't work for her schedule. She needed to be able to get there quicker. And it was like to find something that accommodated their family, that it didn't work. So if that floats your boat and you're about this 2-home living, I'm about it. But what I'm saying is, if you're not the kind of couple that are going to plan on leading mostly separate lives, or like, I think a lot of people, like when they're famous and they travel a lot, like it's like, yeah, okay, we're not always together, and I think that's a fun topic to talk about too, like the idea of being separate and together in relationship, because I think we're still working that piece out. I think that we, like, I'm very like my time, myself, alone. I like it. I enjoy it. But also, like, you be like, I thought we'd do more stuff together. And I like doing stuff together. But I also just like being by myself.
I do too.
Yeah. I think I'm not saying you'd be thinking, and be like, I like it too much.
It's not necessarily that. I'm like, most of the time, like, just based off of previous experiences, is more so like, okay, is something wrong? Did I do something wrong? Okay. Like, that's most of the time what I'm like thinking. I'm like, I don't necessarily think that like it's always like it's just you're trying to enjoy your time. I'm like, okay, she's not talking to me. She's really not talking to me. What am I doing? What I do?
No, just like, did I do something wrong? I'm like, no, not this time.
Mm-hmm.
No, not this time. I'm just over here. So, that's pretty much the story of us. I'm excited. I feel like this episode really made me even more excited about moving forward and all the different things that we can discuss. But now y'all know how we got together. And in case you haven't seen You, go check out You on Netflix so that you can really understand. Hopefully there's no girlfriends buried somewhere, girlfriends past. But if anything, I'd be like season 2. What's her love? I'd be love. Because I'd be like, oh, you think you crazy? Watch out, homeboy.
I don't think we on that level. We ain't
no, we're
kill
not.
nobody.
Oh my God, blood. Ugh.
And I'm not hiding behind no lamppost or nothing.
You're not at all. But you do love to use that gift.
Because his facial expressions are everything. Like, gifts really bring out the expressions that I want to express because I don't have my own gifts.
I do love gifts. Gifts are my love language. Sometimes people are like, are you going to even use, so in my group chats, like in my cousin, they're like, are you using words today? And then I'll send a gift that's like, like no, I'm not. Also, just a totally off topic note. I hate when people say GIF instead of GIF.
Yeah.
I don't understand how people whose first language is English look at GIF and do GIF. When in fact, the thing that you give to someone like a present, GIFT, is gift. So how do you not just take the T? How do you take the T off and get GIF?
You know.
I really don't understand that. I hate when people do that. And if you are a GIF person, GIF is peanut butter, and you better just leave it there. If you're talking about those funny little moving memes, it's a GIF, and you better not call it a GIF. Okay, that's my thing.
Mini rant.
Mini rant. Oh, maybe that should be a segment. Mini rant. I like that.
You know what scuffs my Timbs?
You know what grinds my gears? You know what pickles my cucumber? I tried.
That was funny.
Do you have anything to add, my love?
Honestly, no, other than I love you and I'm glad I'm here. Don't cry. Please don't cry.
I ain't crying today. I have on a whole beat face. I haven't eaten enough to cry. I'll have enough.
That's funny.
I don't have enough.
Not enough salt intake
to
retain your tears.
To retain my tears. So no tears yet. Haven't eaten enough. But thank you guys for joining us for our first episode of If It Isn't Love. Make sure that you follow us on Instagram at If It Isn't Love Podcast. You can also follow us individually at the D Renee and at
J.L. Woodson,
right? We're also on Facebook at If It Isn't Love Podcast. Eventually, we'll get a Twitter. I don't tweet that often. Like with the other podcast, Drea handles the tweeting for the most part. So I guess I'll have to try to get If It Isn't Love Podcast Twitter. Maybe not. But follow us on Instagram because we be putting out some content out on there, little small snippets. We're going to be giving you like sneak peeks on what you can expect from the podcast. The podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Pocket Cast, Google Podcasts, all the other podcast places where you might be listening. And clearly we're here on YouTube. So follow our YouTube at, If It Isn't Love. If It Isn't Love. Is it podcast?
Yes.
If It Isn't Love Podcast on YouTube. So if I love to listen to my podcast, it is my thing. But if you'd rather actually see us, go ahead and follow our YouTube because I'm actually getting dressed on Sunday mornings to record. But podcast comes out every Wednesday, so make sure you check it out, and we will see you guys next week. Bye.